All right, we are here, a half hour left of the K, opening day. Beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Going to be 75 degrees for first pitch, hopefully a sign of things to come. J.J. Picollo, the Executive Vice President and General Manager of the Royals, is here on KCMO. Well, J.J., this is obviously your first year coming back in this role with a playoff team in the rearview mirror. With that comes also heightened expectations as well. So when you look at this team this year, where do you see the improvements, and where do you say to yourself, I've got a couple questions, we need to keep this part healthy?
Yeah, well, as far as the expectations are concerned, we're really just trying to just keep them intact. Same approach as last year. Just take it day by day. Today's the most important game. Then tomorrow will be. And we don't have to do a whole lot more. We got to be a little bit better, but we don't have to do a whole lot more to get back to the playoffs. But with that, we had to make some improvements to our team. The bullpen in particular, I think, is a lot stronger opening day today than it was last year. A couple of it were trades we made last trade deadline, and then signing Carlos Estevez right here before the start of spring training. And then the other one is acquiring Jonathan India. That leadoff spot was problematic for us last year, and he was really the only guy out there that was on the trade market that we could go get. And there was maybe one other free agent, but luckily we had some depth in our starting pitching and could trade a starter to get Jonathan on board. So, when you got Bobby in the 2-hole and Vinny 3 and Salvi 4, getting somebody on base in that leadoff hole is pretty important.
Take me through, the changing of the lineups in Major League Baseball, at least growing up, when I did 90s into the early 2000s, it was like your power hitters at 4, the second best hitters at 3 or 5. But now, 2 is the spot, right? 2 is the spot where you put your best hitter. What are the analytics behind that? Yeah, for just casual baseball fans and how that works.
Yeah, the general idea is you might get 4 at-bats a night, but if you hit your, in our case, Bobby Witt Jr., if you batted him leadoff, there's 1 at-bat a night, which is 25%. That he's not going to hit with somebody on base. Mm-hmm. So by hitting him 2, every at-bat that he takes that night, your best hitter has a chance to have somebody on base in front of him. So that's the most simple way to put it. That trend probably started maybe 12 to 15 years ago. You started seeing the best hitters on the team hit second. And the other reason, instead of 3 or 4, is he's got a better chance to come back around for that 5th at bat. Now you have him coming up. Because I find myself doing it. Once we get to the 6-hole, I start thinking, all right, how many hitters till Bobby's coming up? And you start counting the outs in the game and what inning are we in. And whenever, personally, I'll speak for myself, when I know Bobby's definitely got a chance to come back up again, get that extra at bat, I feel a lot better we have a chance to win that game.
Think about 1 year ago, you had just signed him to this massive deal, obviously largest deal in team history. And you're like, man, I think this will pay off. But obviously in year 1 it pays off beyond your wildest expectations. How important is the economics of locking in young guys to maybe listen, they're massive contracts, but they're considered under-market contracts, right, based on what their talent is. How important is that for a team like the Royals to stay competitive year in, year out?
Well, I very, very important. The great thing here is John Sherman was very willing and very aggressive in talking about it and wanting to do so. But when you have a player like Bobby, I've been very fortunate through my days in Atlanta. We've had Salvador Perez here for a long time. I don't think that I've been around a player that's as good as Bobby, because you're talking about a guy that can play elite shortstop. He's one of the fastest and best base runners in the game. He can hit. To have all of those tools and to have skill attached to those tools is really special. So we realized that pretty quickly, and Mr. Sherman realized that. And you want to keep that player in Kansas City. And, we'll have to figure out some of the finances down the road because you got to get a little creative. But at least in the short term, it doesn't hinder us at all, because we don't have a lot of guaranteed money on the books. And when you look 2 and 3 years out, we can still do a lot of things around Bobby that will keep us competitive.
Now, what about I was just trying to pull this up in front of me. The payroll discrepancy, we know it's enormous. We know the Dodgers look like they're going to have, am I seeing this right? MLB record luxury tax payroll of $400 million. Yeah. You guys, the Royals have a competitive payroll for the market size. Yeah. But it's still such a problem in baseball. Yeah. And I know that you're never going to use it as an excuse, but what can be done about it realistically?
Yeah, it's I think that's something that's going to be left up to the labor negotiations that'll come up. You hear a lot about a cap and a floor. From my perspective, I just try to worry about the baseball team. I don't have anything to do with those negotiations. But the gap is obvious, But what I've tried to tell our staff and our players, we don't have to worry about the Dodgers. We've got to worry about the American League Central. And if we can win the American League Central, we may have the opportunity to play the Dodgers in the World Series. Now you just have to be better than the Dodgers for 4 games out of 7. We'll take our chances there. Any team would. So we're going to stay focused on what we need to do to get to the playoffs, because really anything can happen in October. We witnessed that in 2014. We were a wild card team. We had that incredible comeback, and then we just rolled all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. Unfortunately, to lose. But we've gone through that. We've seen that. And I think it's a lot like in football. The team that gets hot in January is no different than the team that gets hot in October. So even with the payroll discrepancy, we just can't be too concerned with that. Let's just be the best team in the American League Central and take our chances in the playoffs.
Should Bobby have won the MVP over Aaron Judge last year?
We're of course we're biased, but we're not the only people who think he probably should have, because he impacted the game. And, you take Judge off the Yankees, they're still pretty good. You take Bobby off of us, we'd be okay. So I think the way I look at the MVP, if you take that one player off, I think we would have felt it more than the Yankees if that had been the case. But that's not to take anything away from Judge's year. It was a historic year.
Yeah, so absolutely.
You can't say he's not an MVP.
How much of this year feels like 14 into 15? Not that you're putting World Series expectations on the table, but obviously you've been around under your predecessor Dayton Moore. Is there a 14-15 feel here 10 years later?
Yeah, I think just the expectations have gone up, the confidence has gone up, and now the way our players reacted after we lost in New York was very similar to us losing the Game 7 of the 14 World Series. So I think it left a bad taste in our players' mouth. They're motivated. They believe in themselves. I also think the adversity you go through as a team will carry over into the next year, and you have greater experiences. I don't know how to put a metric to it, but when you play in Baltimore in front of sellout crowds and you win 2 tight games and you win that series, and then you go to New York and you play 2 good games there, and then you come home to this crowd here, there's a lot of developmental growth there that happens that's just not measurable, but you know it because you've been in a game and your instincts tell you our players are going to be more prepared for this season than last year, which gives us that momentum going into this year.
JJ Picollo, Royals General Manager, Executive VP, is here. So having been around World Series teams, the crowd, that moment you reference in those playoff games last year here, what did you notice from the development of those guys who really hadn't played in front of a crowd in a moment like that?
Well, we had talked about it quite a bit, but until you can try to describe it, you got to see it. I had made a promise to myself that if we got a home playoff game, somewhere about an hour before the game, I was going to walk around the stadium because I just wanted to feel that again. In doing so, I knew what the players were going to feel taking the field that night. They talk about it now. They know what it's like. A lot of them have been over to Arrowhead for Chiefs games. Players want that, and our fans, I hope they realize, the more people that are here, it puts our players' mind at ease, and they play better. They love playing in front of people. There's that home field advantage, and they got to see that last year in the playoffs and down the stretch. In September, we had great crowds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you probably will have a playoff-like atmosphere today, I would imagine.
Yeah, I believe it's a sellout.
Yeah, that's a great first step.
That is awesome.
Gates are open already, so
it's awesome.
It's going to be like Arrowhead on a big Sunday here today.
I saw a few people out there tailgating already.
Oh, they're ready.
They're ready to go.
Or they're getting ready.
Yeah.
So Jack Caglione, obviously, a lot of conversation around him. What's his timeline right now?
A really special player. We wanted to get him in spring training, get the experience of being around our major league players, be in the clubhouse, be around our coaches, face some major league pitching, which he did have the opportunity to do, and he performed exceptionally well. Not too surprised by that because he's a really special talent. As far as his timeline, we just have a belief that letting him go to Double-A, he's earned to go to Double-A. face some of the better arms in baseball, some of the better prospects, let him get a little bit more of his foundation built. He's still learning a lot. He was an exceptional college player, maybe the best player in the game when you consider he was a two-way guy. But that development needs to continue, because the last thing we want is for somebody to come into the major leagues and not be ready. So we'd rather be a tick late than a tick early, because it can really affect a guy's career if they get up too soon. Then they don't have the same success, and we have to send them back to the minor leagues. That could really set a guy back. And unfortunately, the way our team's positioned, it's not absolutely necessary for us to have him up here. The best situation would be for him to go to Double-A, really play well, earn a quick promotion to Triple-A. Our team's playing well here, and you just kind of slide him in with less expectations than putting everything on a young guy's shoulders, because it takes a really special human being to handle that. But when young guys slide into a good team that's playing well, that is the most ideal time to break a guy in, and that's what we're hopeful will happen, whether it's this year or next. But he's coming. He's very good. He's very talented.
Yeah, okay. So wait and see, but not push.
Yeah.
But if you feel like he's ready, we could see him here.
Yeah, and we want to be patient with that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, if this will make any sense, but patiently aggressive.
Yeah, okay.
Patiently aggressive. We want to be patient, but we'll be aggressive. He's playing well. We know what the talent is. He's playing well. We're not going to wait too long to get him moving.
Okay. Will you be disappointed, J.J. Picollo, if you are not playing postseason baseball this year?
Absolutely. I mean, last year going into the year, there was optimism. This year, there's a belief. Now, we do have to go out there and do it. We have to stay healthy. We have to play the game the right way. We have to capitalize when there's opportunity. We're a team, I like to say, we're a sum of our parts. We do have that one superstar and a couple other really, really good players. But we're a sum of our parts. So everything's got to click. All 13 position players, all 13 pitchers have a really important role on this team, and they all need to come together. So, but the expectation, the confidence level is to be in the playoffs, and went through last year should really help us there.
Well, congratulations, obviously, on a great year last year, and hopefully a lot more success starting today at 310.
Well, hope so. I'm anxious to get it going.
All right, J.J. Picollo, Royals General Manager, Executive VP on KCMO. Thank you. I appreciate it, J.J.
Thank you, Pete.
All
Enjoyed
right.
it.
You bet.